vegan meat recipes, all 5 ingredients or less. Hey everyone, so today we are going to be going through 3 super easy vegan meat recipes: a beef, a chicken, and a fish, all 5 ingredients or less. So it's super simple, super basic. And I think for anyone who is eating less meat, whether that be for health reasons, for environmental reasons, or for animal welfare, anyone can benefit from having a couple of super simple, super easy meat substitute recipes under their belt. This is going to work for any dish that you want to be putting it in or mixing it in. So I'm going to go through the 3 recipes, but if you're interested in something that is more in depth, you want to hear me talk about, the ingredients some more, each of these recipes are also their own individual videos. So I'll put that link down below. And then towards the end, for those of you who are like, why would I make my own vegan meat? I can just buy it at the grocery store. Entirely correct. So I'll be going through some of the main meat substitutes that you can find at grocery stores now, and any cool new products that I am having my eyes on. So the first recipe is this really easy vegan beef pork recipe, and the secret is really this yeast extract that I'm adding into it. It adds a nice meatiness. So I dissolve the yeast, the bouillon, in the water before adding in my gluten and just kneading for about 1 to 2 minutes before I put it into the steamer, medium-high heat for right around 1 hour. This seitan is nice and meaty, and you can go ahead and flavor it with whatever additional spices that you have or any sauces that you would like. For this shreddable chicken recipe, we're going to mix the dry ingredients first, the wheat gluten and the vegan chicken bouillon, and then I'm going to mix the oil with the tofu and water, which I've already blended until it was nice and smooth, and then I'll add the wet mixture into the dry. So after a 1 to 2 minute knead, I let the gluten rest for 1 hour, after which I'm going to tear up the pieces, put it into a food processor, and then process it for about 8 minutes on medium speed until the gluten is nice and worked. You know that the gluten has been worked well because it is so stretchy. So afterwards, I'm going to divide it up into 2 balls and then wrap them first in parchment paper, followed by a layer of tinfoil. These 2 guys then go into a pressure cooker on high heat for 2 hours. And if you don't have a pressure cooker, you can steam them as well, but it'll take closer to 3.5 to 4 hours until all of the gluten is cooked through. A good tip is to wait until these guys cool a little bit because it can get quite hot, and then just follow the fibers of the gluten when you are shredding because that can be very, very satisfying. Easiest vegan fish recipe ever. You're going to take a block of firm tofu, cut it into 3, and then put it with a towel and some weights for right around 30 minutes to an hour to soak up that additional moisture. And then this will get the tofu chunks to be extra meaty. And the next thing is to just salt both sides with a little bit of salt. And then the fun part is actually shaping them into little fillets. So you do this with the tofu and then also with the seaweed as well. Next, for the fish batter, I have a little bit of rice flour, some salt, and then a 1/4 cup of water, which you can actually substitute for beer if you want. Get that nice and smooth, and then we'll start frying. Each side gets about 1 to 2 minutes until it turns golden brown, and you want the oil temperature to be right around 350 degrees Fahrenheit. So I'll go through these meat replacements fairly quickly because I don't want to bore you. But I would say a majority of what you can get at grocery stores in terms of meat replacements fall into 4 big categories. One is going to be your seitan, which is made from wheat gluten. It's going to taste the most meaty because it's going to have that bite, it's going to have that chew. Now with seitan, which is made from wheat gluten, you can mix seitan with a lot of other ingredients like beans, soy, anything to just kind of change up the texture of seitan. So while we made like a pretty firm piece of seitan in our vegan beef and pork recipe, you could mix it with a lot of things. Like there's seitan burgers, there are, you know, vegan sausages. This bacon is also, at the core of it, is made from wheat gluten and made from seitan. But of course, they're able to kind of mix the rest of these ingredients in different flavorings and whatnot to get these meats to be tasting pretty good. The second one is going to be tempeh. So tempeh is usually made from soybeans, and what they do is it's a little bit strange. They put some bacteria over it, and essentially you get kind of like a fermented soybean patty that is, it is meaty, but for me, it kind of tastes like little clumps of harder rice. Tempeh is something that is very different and cool to try. When you go to grocery stores, and this could be normal grocery stores, it could be health food stores as well, they're starting to make a lot of different kinds of tempeh. So I'm seeing them mix nori seaweed with tempeh. I'm starting to see them mix like smoky bacon flavors into tempeh. So they're really becoming quite creative with it, and you can, you can essentially have tempeh in many different ways. The third one is going to be tofu. Tofu basic, everybody knows it, but you can manipulate tofu in so many ways. First off, there are different categories of it, right? Like firm, extra firm, soft, silken. A lot of people don't know this, but if you put tofu in the freezer and then you take it out, thaw it out, you can actually wring out a lot more of the liquid, and the texture of the tofu completely changes. So that's something that you might want to try with like a softer tofu, because that's going to make the biggest difference. The products that I've seen for tofu in some of the health food stores are actually pretty cool. Again, just like the tempeh, they've gone and flavored it in different ways. So I've seen like basil mozzarella, I've seen smoked, kind of like a smoked ham tofu. I've seen fermented tofu as well, which actually tastes so much like cheese to me. There's a brand, I think it's Thai Fun, that does kind of like feta cheese tofu, and there's a brand that mixes kind of kombucha starters with tofu, and I think they call it kofu or something, but that just names as kind of gimmicky. But what it is it's essentially that they fermented tofu to get it a little bit more sour, and it actually tastes like cheese. So cheese is one of those things that's, super hard to replace when you're a vegan. Like most people can give up meat, but when you say give up dairy, give up cheese, it's a lot harder for them. So definitely kind of check out tofu products in your local grocery store, and then venture out to the health food stores, because that's where like a lot of like new kind of like cool products are coming in. And then the fourth one that I'm going to actually put in there is TVP, textured vegetable protein. A lot of the times, if you have Indian grocery stores as well, they sell the TVP in big chunks. And what this basically is they've isolated the proteins in soy. Sort of like for wheat gluten, they've isolated just the gluten particles of the wheat plant. This, they have isolated just the soy protein in soybeans. And so when you make it, the texture is a lot more, it's harder, so it's a little bit meatier. So usually TVP comes in kind of the minced form, like little bits, and all you do is you rehydrate it in some water or in some vegetable broth or some vegan meat broth, and you end up getting these little pieces that taste like minced meat. I think like along with this fourth category, there are always new products and new ingredients and new technologies coming out when it comes to trying to getting vegan meats to actually taste like real meats. And I get this question a lot all the time. Why would vegans or vegetarians want to be eating something that tastes like meat? And I just always say, taste buds, and for whatever reason you're deciding to eat plant-based, they don't always collide, right? Like just because I want the planet to be a better place doesn't mean that I don't enjoy the taste and the texture of meat, or whether, if I want to be lowering my cholesterol, I have bad heart health. That does not mean that I do not like, the taste of meat. So, new technologies, new ingredients. So there are things like soy protein that you can make meats out of. There's also pea protein as well that I'm seeing used more and more, because soy is a common allergen, and also, of course, people who are allergic to gluten can't have the seitan. So different ingredients, different stuff are coming out all the time. I'll say that if you are somebody who is really interested in new products and where kind of this vegan meat scene is going, I'd say look to Asia. Asia has been playing around with wheat gluten for a really long time, right, with the Buddhist traditions. But if you look at places like Singapore, if you look at places like Thailand, they're doing really cool things with seafood that actually are making seafood taste like seafood. So there's that. Yeah, I hope you guys all enjoyed this vegan meat week and this vegan video, and I will see you guys all again next time, okay?